Hey guys, Maven here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the aim routine that I've been using personally to help me get to Immortal. I use this aim routine primarily as a warm-up or in between matches when there's downtime. As always, timestamps will be here and in the description if you guys want to skip to any parts. And if you guys find this useful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let's just jump right into it. Firstly, you want to make sure your Kovaaks is set to the right setting, so if you just hit the settings here. You want to make sure your sensitivity scale is set to Valorant, and you put your own horizontal sensitivity on there, and make sure vertical sensitivity is locked to horizontal. And then you want to make sure your FOV is set to Valorant. The FOV will be 103. And then I put my game max FPS at 237, that's 3 below my monitor's refresh rate, but you can put to whatever you want. Next, you want to go to weapons, and you want to hide your weapon here. Seeing the weapon in this game is not really useful, in my opinion. So there's no really need for it, you just hide the weapon here. And then if you guys want to use my visuals, these are my visuals. Alright, so just copy them if you want to, and yeah, let's get into the aim scenarios. So first one we're doing is CATA IC long strafes. You might be wondering why we're doing a tracking scenario when Valorant is a click timing based game, and that's because it helps with your mouse control and helps you understand your sensitivity a bit more. There's also a fast variant of CATA IC strafes which helps you improve your reaction times. So I do this about 3 times just to get used to my mouse and making sure that nothing feels out of place when moving my mouse. Remember that in Valorant, aiming should not be the first thing that you think of, it should almost be second nature to you. So once I do this about 2 or 3 times, I then move on to the next scenario, which is 1 wall, 6 targets small. I start off with a more precise version of 1 wall 6 targets because it helps me with my precise aiming mechanics and also helps warm up my fingertips when I'm doing micro adjustments, and is also a very good scenario because it punishes you for misses. Here I'm at least trying to aim for 90 to 95% accuracy, and if you get above 95% or around there, be sure to speed it up because otherwise you'll just hit plateaus and your aiming won't really improve anywhere. When you're doing this scenario, make sure that you're aiming precisely, but make sure that your lines are smooth in between targets when you're target switching. The straighter the line, the faster you'll be able to hit those targets, and the less micro adjustments you'll need to do. And that's pretty much it for 1 wall 6 targets small. Next scenario we're going to be doing is 1 wall 6 targets TE, which is just the bigger variant. Now, just like with 1 wall 6 targets small, you want to make sure that your lines are smooth and straight, and you also want to make sure you're in the 90 to 95% accuracy range. You can go a bit faster in this scenario because the targets are bigger, but not too fast whereby you drop below 90%. And if you do drop below 90%, make sure you slow it down, and you can even use a metronome just to keep track of how many shots you should be taking per second. And yeah, once you do this 3 times, let's head on over to 1 wall, 5 targets passive. Okay, this scenario is much harder than the previous scenarios, but just bear with me on this. This is primarily because the targets are moving and also have a pretty small target size. This is very good for warming up your dynamic clicking so that you can get used to shooting moving targets. Because in Valorant, not every enemy is going to be standing still for the easy shot. When doing this scenario, I recommend that you try tracking first before shooting the target, because I don't want you guys to just be aiming carelessly and taking random shots and losing the accuracy. You still want to maintain a good amount of accuracy. Here I recommend above a 75% average to around 85. If you can do more, then that's perfect. Personally, I can't get into the 80 to 85 range just yet because my dynamic clicking is much worse than my static, but we're hoping to improve into that. So yeah, just play this a few times and then we're gonna move on to Reflex Flick Fair. Now this scenario does have 2 more variants, which is the easy and the hard variant. If you can't seem to do the fair variant, then go on to the easy, and if it's too easy for you, then go into hard. You want to make sure that you're just challenging yourself in these scenarios every step of the way. But this scenario is pretty simple and straightforward. A target will spawn, but it'll only have a certain duration of it being alive, so you'll need to click on it before it runs out. No matter what variant you're doing, I still recommend that you keep your lines straight and smooth, because you will definitely miss some, especially if it's the beginning of your aim training journey. But personally, I only do this 2 times just to get a feel of my flicks, because some of these are very long range flicks which are very improbable in an actual Valorant scenario. So whenever you miss one, just reset your crosshair back to the middle and then shoot for the next one. The next scenario I'm going to be doing is Valorant Microshot speed small. In this scenario, the targets will have a pretty small target size, so this helps with precise microflicks, and this helps with long-range gunfights whereby an enemy pops out of cover, and your crosshair may not be on their head, so you need to adjust and flick onto their head. In this scenario, the targets do not have a duration, so you can take your time when you're switching between targets. Try and keep yourself in that 90 to 95% accuracy range, and if you're below 90%, just slow it down and try and correct yourself in the next shots. So moving on to the next scenario, we're going to be doing Valorant Reflex Flicks Strafing. This one is sort of like Reflex Flick Fair, except in this one when the targets do appear, they will be strafing. So again, this is practicing those engagements that are medium to long range whereby the enemy is moving and you need to correct your crosshair onto the head. This scenario is pretty tricky to do, so don't worry if you're going below the median, just focus on yourself and improve for next time. Also remember to keep your line straight and smooth, and be sure to reset to the middle of the screen whenever you hit or miss the target. The next scenario we're going to be doing is Towel Frenzy Strafing number 3. There are different variations of Towel Frenzy, but Strafing number 3 is the one I find to be the best middle ground for beginners and intermediate players. So if you're just starting out, try this out. If it's too hard for you, then you can always go down to number 1 or number 2. The only differences between the different numbers are the target sizes of the cubes. So number 3 will have a smaller target size than number 2 and so forth. So again, with this scenario, you want to make sure that your accuracy is pretty high, and you can even take a second to just track the target and make sure your crosshair is on them before you click, because you want to make sure you're practicing shooting on target rather than off. The final scenario we're going to be doing in Kovaaks is PatTargetSwitch small, no reload. This is a very nice target switching scenario because the targets have a character-like shape, and in this scenario I primarily try and go for headshots only, and since you're mainly going to be holding down your mouse button for these kills, accuracy shouldn't be the first thing you used to think of, but more importantly the volume of targets you kill and how well you're killing them. So again, shooting them in the head is the fastest way to kill them, and if you're shooting them in the body, just make sure you try and adjust to the head. And it's overall a very nice scenario that's a mix between flicking and tracking. And yeah, that's essentially it for my Kovaaks playlist. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And also be sure to stick around for more Valorant content that I'll be posting onto the channel. And thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.